Good Wednesday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. We are live in Charlottesville, across Albemarle County, which we love, Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world, on the I Love CVille Network. Any social media platform that is alive today is streaming this show as we try to reach every age demographic. Facebook trending a little older, Instagram trending a little more millennial and younger, Snapchat and TikTok even younger than that. We're all over them. So many topics to cover today on a glorious day to be alive in Central Virginia. We'll talk mask. This weekend, we're going to eclipse potentially 90 degrees on the thermometer. We will see how Central Virginia responds to wearing a cloth over their face in 92, 93 degree heat with significant humidity. This will be a test for masks in Central Virginia this weekend, folks. Believe it. We'll talk lumber futures are falling. We've covered this very closely on this show. COVID has created a spike in the cost of lumber. Well, now they're stabilizing a little bit. Futures are falling. Regardless, in 2021, lumber prices are still up 37%. I'll do a deep dive on that topic today on the show. We'll talk teenagers. Yes, teens. Yes, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19-year-olds. That's going to be the next population, the next demographic of people that are going to fill all these job voids at restaurants, food and beverage, hospitality, and retail. Remember, because of unemployment benefits, either from the state or the federal government, many folks in F&B and hospitality either have chosen to stay home and collect unemployment, or they've found another career after being out of work for 14 or 15 months. As a result, many restaurateurs, restaurant owners, and general managers are struggling to hire people. Teenagers will be the ones who fill that void. We'll tell you why on the I Love CVille Show. King's Dominion opens Saturday. That's great news. King's Dominion is a tremendous tourist attraction in Richmond. King's Dominion and its water park have clear-cut guidelines in place for its reopening on Saturday. We will relay those guidelines to you and our expectations for the park's reopening. We'll also talk City of Charlottesville and its recreation centers reopening. The really difficult aspect of COVID-19 is families and individuals that had resources. I'm talking money here. They had the opportunity to live their life almost more normal than those that did not have the resources. A good example is private schools. Students were learning in the classroom. Public school students were learning virtually in the coat closet. Another example is gyms or athletic facilities. ACAC opened the entire time during COVID-19. Carver and Key Recreation Center in the city of Charlottesville were closed. We'll talk about the reopening of the rec centers in the city of Charlottesville and how that could impact this community. We encourage everybody to follow our Instagram account, I Love CVille. We have the third largest Instagram in this community behind the University of Virginia and the city of Charlottesville. Folks, welcome to the program. We will start with something that I think we will watch very closely. 90 degrees plus in the forecast for this weekend. So far, during COVID-19, and up until this point, the wearing of the masks has been something we have done in air-conditioned type settings or in mild or cold weather situations. We are heading into the first real summer with masks. Remember, last summer, we were quarantining. We were uncertain, unwilling to go out, more apt to stay home in the air condition because of the uncertainty from the pandemic. Now that vaccinations are in people's arms, Albemarle County is the safest in the Commonwealth from a vaccination standpoint. The city of Charlottesville is third in the Commonwealth. Now that we're getting these vaccines in our arms, I'm curious how human and social behavior will change when it comes to wearing masks in 91, 92, and 93 degree heat. I think we will really see a test for folks who are committed to mask wearing this weekend as they head from car to retail location, car to restaurant, house to brewery, wherever they're going. Mask in 90 degree heat we will follow how Charlottesvillians and Central Virginians respond this weekend. Now, the next topic I want to emphasize to you is some positive news. Lumber futures are falling. This is a good thing for housing affordability. So many folks in new construction, and we have clients that we represent in that space, have said that prices have been so volatile and so upticking that they've had to do escalation clauses with their clients as the cost of goods increases, essentially passing those increases in prices onto the customers through these escalation clauses. Now, boys and girls, lumber futures are falling. For an 8th straight day, on Wednesday today, lumber futures have gone down. For July, delivery fell about 5% to $1,201 per thousand board feet on Wednesday. Prices have fallen every day since lumber hit a record high of $1,711 per thousand board feet on May 10th. That was the peak of the market for lumber, May 10th. $1,711 per thousand board feet, May 10th. Today, that number is $1,201. We're talking a difference of over $500 right there. That's a hell of a delta. Regardless, lumber is up 37% in 2021, although it does seem the prices are stabilizing. You know what happened with lumber? Pricing undoubtedly stifled demand. As the prices increased for lumber and increased and went higher and higher, people panicked. They froze. They chose to slow down their supply chains, their new construction projects, their rear deck building, and any other projects they had because the prices were going so high. As people stopped buying lumber because the prices were so high, that stifled demand, which, boys and girls, dropped the price and is bringing it back down. We're now 8 straight days with futures falling for a very critical commodity in our ecosystem, in our economy. The next headline I want to get to you is a prediction. And I had this prediction last week on the I Love CVille Show, but I want to really dig into it even deeper today. Folks, restaurants, hospitality, food and beverage, retail, they're all struggling to find workers. It's no secret. Here's the situation we have going on. We got unemployment from the Commonwealth. We got a rescue program that's kicking money from the federal level as well. You can sit on your couch and potentially make more money than grinding in a 105, 110 degree kitchen. As a result, restaurant owners can't find help. On top of that, you had 15 months of COVID where folks that were working in the back of the house or the front of house of a restaurant, they found a different career. They've pivoted and they found a different way to earn money. Now folks in our community that own restaurants, retail outlets, hospitality, food and beverage, vineyards, wineries, breweries, they can't find anyone to work for them. Prediction, and I said it last week, I'll say it again, teenagers. I truly believe teenagers are going to be the next popular hire to fill these job opens, these job availabilities. Teenagers can come in at a $15 an hour and then make some tips on top of that, and they're going to be like Scrooge McDuck, swimming in gold coins, throwing the cash up in the air, saying, "Mom and Dad, look at all the money I have." They have not been disenchanted by a living wage discussion. This will be their first job. And for someone who's 16, 17, newly minted with a driver's license and a little bit of freedom, being able to go to a restaurant right around the neighborhood and earn 15, 16, 17, 18 bucks an hour, that's a hell of a lot of money for a teenager in high school. Mark it down. The restaurants, hospitality, food and beverage in this area, maybe Commonwealth-wide, maybe countrywide, are going to go after our teens to fill these empty voids. Now, 3 other items of news before we welcome our friend Steve Harvey to the show in about 4.5 minutes. This is positive. King's Dominion is reopening on Saturday. King's Dominion has been closed since COVID. King's Dominion is going by the honor code. If you have a vaccination, you don't have to wear a mask. but they're not checking vaccine cards. King's Dominion says, if you haven't been vaccinated, wear a mask in our park. Regardless, we're opening on Saturday. King's Dominion in Richmond, Virginia, its water park and its roller coaster park are ready to rock and roll and welcome thousands of people every day, 50 minutes away from Charlottesville. I'm going to tell you, King's Dominion's a hell of a roller coaster park. It's a hell of a tourist attraction. Busch Gardens is another one I love in Williamsburg. When these parks start getting back online and clicking at full cylinders, we will feel a trickle-over effect for our economy in Charlottesville. So many people are driving by Charlottesville to King's Dominion and Busch Gardens. They could stop here, eat or drink, or stay the night and enjoy all that Central Virginia has to offer. Now, how about a factoid for you? I had no idea this was true. Did you guys know Rosetta Stone was founded in Harrisonburg, Virginia? I did not know that. I learned that today. Rosetta Stone, of course, the language learning software that's helped millions of people learn a different language. The business was founded in 1992 by three guys, Alan and Eugene Stoltzfus and John Fairfield. 1992 in Harrisonburg, Virginia. That's a trivia question waiting to happen for us, Judah Wickower, our fantastic director. Here's the tough part of what's happening with Rosetta Stone. The company was purchased in March, so what? Less than 2 months ago, by IXL Learning. And IXL Learning has been buying a lot of language software companies. As a result, they have some redundancies when it comes to employment openings. Rosetta Stone in Harrisonburg is having a lot of layoffs with its staff as the new company is pretty much trying to be more efficient with its payroll and its job openings. So the trivia factoid for you is that Rosetta Stone was founded in 1992 in Harrisonburg. The news for you is Rosetta Stone was purchased in March by a big-time company, IXL Learning, and they're laying off a lot of the staff in Harrisonburg, Virginia, which is certainly unfortunate. Folks, the last item of news I want to get out before we welcome the legendary Steve Harvey to the broadcast is a positive piece of news. The recreation centers that are managed by the city of Charlottesville are reopening again this weekend. This is fantastic news. I started the program by saying this. Families and individuals with resources, and when anyone says resources, they're talking about money, guys. Families and individuals with money during COVID, they had so much more opportunity to live life as it was before the pandemic. Examples of that are students learning in a classroom amongst their peers at the Covenant School at St. Anne's Belfield. Examples of that are me going to ACAC downtown during COVID and enjoying the gym because I was paying $90 or whatever it is a month to enjoy the facility. Unfortunately, those that are less resourced saw their recreation centers like Key and Carver close. Folks, that's going to change. Downtown Charlottesville, the Key Recreation Center is opening again. Carver Recreation Center is opening again. This gives residents and taxpayers and our friends and family and the people we love in our community options, an opportunity for quality of life and to do things that resemble a sense of normalcy that may have happened prior to COVID-19. If you have any questions, comments, concerns on any of the topics I covered, put them in the news feed. I see on our heat map right here 5 states watching the I Love CVille show, which just shocks me and amazes me and very much humbles me. Kelly Jackson, welcome to the show. Adrian Eichner, welcome to the broadcast. Aaron King, Western Albemarle High School's finest alumni. I'll catch some heat for that, Aaron King, watching the show as we speak. Same with Bob Pletchen, who is watching in Maryland. What's up, Bobby? All right, Judah Wickower is our director. My friend, studio camera. My friend, let's go to another friend, and Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey, hello, how are you?
It's good to be back, Jerry. Good to be back. I realized after I came on a couple weeks ago, it had been almost 2 years since I came on here. And
The last time was the debate with Ann Malik.
yeah, it was a long time. We had a little meeting, just the two of us in here. Back,
that's right.
Yeah, but I hadn't gone on the show in a long time, and I miss it.
Well, you're good in this setting.
It's enjoyable. You make it really pleasant.
Thank you.
So I'm glad to be back. I hope that we can do this every couple weeks.
I would love to do it.
Until you're, blessed into office.
I would love. Well, thank you for saying that. I love that. Chrissy Knight is giving you some props on the program. Questions for the man, Steve Harvey. Put him in the feed. Patricia Spicer Napoleon says hello and is watching the broadcast. Steve, where do you want to begin? The show is yours. I will adapt to you, my friend.
I'm looking forward to this weekend. It sounds like it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. We've got plans stacked on top of plans at this point. So we don't even, we were thinking of going up to James Madison's and seeing the horses.
Your family?
Yeah, but now we've got Mishy Tavern thing. Are you going to that with Americans for Prosperity?
I am not. Tell me about that.
Well, if anybody's interested in Americans for Prosperity, it's an organization primarily interested in reducing regulations, freedom of choice within the free market, ending government tampering in the free market in general. That's their big shtick. They do have donors from certain places that people get all in a huff about. Who are the semi-conservative billionaires that donate that everybody gets stinky about?
Tell me.
The guys from New York.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about? They're like super billionaires. They're more conservative types, and people go. Like we say, the people on the right say, you've got Soros money, and the people on the left say, you have whose money? We're down to like one guy.
Yeah, Judah Whitcare will look that up for us as our...
big donor to AFP, that might. But, I don't mind. I've been to many of their classes and many of their little get-togethers and events, and I think that it's the most wholesome group of people you ever meet. It's just a whole bunch of people that are interested in reducing the size of government. And I'm all for that. I think that, like Jefferson wanted, you want your biggest government closest to home, and then, everything should shrink from there all the way to the federal level. And we've got that on its head right now. Though in Charlottesville and Albemarle County, we've got it biggest closest to home and biggest in the federal government. So we kind of get it both ways.
It's the brothers.
Yes, Koch brothers.
Yeah, it's the Koch brothers.
They are. Koch
Vanessa
brothers.
Parkhill, one of the viewers, answered that for us.
Yeah, there you go. The Koch brothers.
Thank you, Vanessa. You make us better every day. I sincerely mean that. She said.
Thank you so much for providing that. But
she's an Albemarle County voter.
Okay.
Vanessa Parkhill.
Vanessa.
Yeah, thank you.
Keep an eye on things. Make sure you research all your candidates.
Let me throw this to you. How do you think the heat in the forecast is going to impact mask wearing in Central Virginia? 90 plus degrees, Steve.
I hope that people feel free. I hope that people feel like they can get out and do whatever they like. If Northam says it's okay, then I think that everyone across the political spectrum should be like, all right, we got it. We got
the Pope's blessing.
We got the blessing from there. I've had my own opinions about the masks since the very beginning. I think that the science is a little bit wonky. It's very hard to tell exactly what's going on any of this stuff. The problem is everything got politicized. Trump came in 4 years ago, and every single topic became politics. And so when this pandemic came around, guess what? Every single aspect was politics. First, Trump comes out and says, we got this thing in China brewing. We got to be worried about it. And everybody else says, no, you're just making up stories because you hate Chinese people. And then a couple months later, it's Trump is trying to tamp things down. They're all like, but this horrible thing is here. It's like, what do you guys, whatever way, it was always political, back and forth. The mask thing, first no masks, probably because we didn't have enough. And then, a month and two goes by, and all of a sudden everybody has to wear masks. And then you had some pushback from Trump, and that made it mandatory that everybody wears masks. So, I don't know where the science is. I don't know if anybody really knows what the science is on anything anymore.
I'm not sure the CDC knows what the science is, because every single day it seems like it's a different message, call to action, or some kind of guideline.
Anybody who gives you a firm stance on anything that has made it into the mainstream press and is confident in what they say, I think that they have a delusion issue. Because
explain that to me.
At this point, no one knows. At this point, we have scientists on both sides. Everything is political. And if you get your funding from government grants and your grant says that you're looking for masks being effective, then masks are going to be effective. There's a problem with government funding science to begin with. But it's way beyond that. At this point, every scientist has a political leaning. They're all looking for particular answers when they start researching something. And the way the media presents everything, they take whatever slightly biased thing the scientists came out with, and they elevate it to massively biased on their end. And so when it comes to election results, when it comes to the science around pandemics or anything like that, if you can say with certainty that you have the right answer, I start not trusting anything you think because I don't know. And I've been following it all very closely, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know where people go with that. But anyway, AFP is doing a lunch at Mishi Tavern. If you want to do it, then you've got to look up Flint Engelman and message him on Facebook. Maybe we can link him in the chat somewhere.
Yeah.
But he's awesome. Great guy, has philosophical underpinnings that you couldn't shake with a bulldozer. And he's hosting the event. It should be really good. I think it's going to be at the FOP Lodge, right there next to Mishi. But the food's going to be fantastic, and it's free because they got those Koch brothers dollars.
You got the Koch brothers. But what do you make of the teens filling the job void gap? And let me relay this comment that's come in from Vanessa Parkhill.
Sure.
Passing it on to you. She says, many of these minimum wage jobs were typically held by teens and college students in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. These were entry-level jobs that allowed young people to gain valuable experience that could be leveraged toward better paying management positions or earn money to offset college expenses. This is a great opportunity today for young, hardworking individuals to get back in the workforce. The prediction is all our restaurants are pinched from a supply chain hiring standpoint, that maybe they're now going after teenagers to fill that void. Thoughts on the topic?
Awesome in general. I think the marketplace for job opportunity is more different now than maybe it's ever been in the United States. Having this dearth of people willing to come forward and work, whether it's because of welfare-y type programs or COVID relief things. People get a $7,000 check, and all of a sudden their rent's paid for 5 months. If you lived outside of Albemarle.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's fantastic. I would love to see Chick-fil-A and Wendy's and Lowe's out in front of Albemarle High School with twisty boards, doing come get an application to sign up for a job. One of my first jobs was at a pharmacy in Lynchburg. My second job was a busboy at Peaks of Otter. And I was getting paid $7.20.
And it was a ton of money, right?
And I saved every penny.
Right.
I actually, whenever I got the check, I would go to the bank and they'd say, you want to put it in the account? I was, no, cash it out. I want it in tens. And by the time I graduated high school, I had stacks of, now they were $10 bills.
Yeah, but still.
But it felt really good.
Yeah, you were a kid.
Well, I was into Jay-Z and all this stuff. And so being able
Harvey
to open
into
up.
Jay-Z.
Oh, yeah, big
really?
time. Oh, Eminem, just forget about it. So, I had a dresser drawer that you pull open. It was literally stacked with cash. And, I went to college. I had to immediately put it all in a bank. And they looked at me like I was crazy.
Yeah, that you were like a drug dealer.
That I came in and stacked the cash. And then they started counting it. And they were like, this is only $2,000. But anyway, at $7.50 an hour, I was able to save up money.
That's
that
legit.
I was a free man when I got to college. I could do what I wanted. I could go where I wanted because I had cash. And that was $7 an hour. Imagine getting paid 3 times that now.
Right.
And the cost of stuff has not gone up that. We're talking 2001.
They're still living at home with their parents.
I know.
Their overhead is limited.
The inflation of
has not gone
goods,
3x.
It's gone up.
Yeah.
But it has not 3x.
No.
And so just being a high schooler, knowing that you can pursue one of these things, all the kids that decide not to go back to college because of COVID or this or that, they should be going after this too. Anybody within the general population that does not get some kind of money from the government, that is who you should be targeting. With your advertising on Facebook, if you're a company looking to hire people, you should be, what demographic? Everybody from 18 to 22, they're not getting checks. their parents are getting
That's
the checks.
smart right there.
So just blast it out there, scoop these people up because it's going to be high demand. And it's great for them too because the price has been driven up to a fantastic rate. At high school, $17 an hour.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's what
amazing.
a nurse used to get paid 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like with education and everything else. I mean, maybe not the open heart nurse, but anyway, I need to say hi real quick.
Please.
To Sasha Z. Harvey, my little daughter.
Is she watching?
Maybe, I hope so.
Sasha Harvey, hello.
Hey, Kate, my lovely wife, the two boys. They go by Fin and Kiwi.
Oh.
Now it's Steven, which shortened to Finn.
Okay.
And then Kiwi, which is Carl, because I guess they just can't do hard R's like across the board. So Fin, Kiwi, Sasha, Mommy. Hello, everybody.
How is being a dad? How's parenthood?
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
I look at it now.
Do you feel like you're out of the thick, or you're back in the thick with the boys? Because it would be much harder to have had the boys first.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Well, Sasha helps.
Yeah.
Sasha actually helps.
How old is she?
She's going to be 4 in October.
That's awesome.
5 in October. She's 4 right now. And I mean, she does a great job. She's caring and loving. And the nighttime is just beautiful. When Sasha says goodnight to the brothers and she does this one on the face. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can sing to these kids. Oh, my repertoire on singing is massive at this point.
Oh, because you care to serenade us?
Well, maybe you'll have to pay extra for that.
Okay. I got a bottle of something brown over there if that'll help you.
We need to do a late night Jerry Miller live. I can't be drinking at noon.
No, I know.
But,
we're tongue in cheek.
But no, I think I'm up to like 10 memorized country songs. Because
you sing country music to your kids?
Yeah.
Not Jay-Z or Eminem?
Some a cappella. I did try Eminem when Sasha was little. And
Monster Under the Bed? Marshall Mathers?
I think it was America.
Okay.
I mean, but that's a bad song.
Yeah.
I just heard, they don't know the words. They don't know what you're saying when they're 1. But I feel like it comes across anyway. Like the vibe. He has a hateful vibe. I loved it when I was 18, but singing to a 1-year-old, you can't sing.
You got, this is a good one. You got Larry Molinax watching the program right now. He says he lives in Albemarle County, and he says, guys, get to Albemarle and give us some takes on where we live. So we'll start open-ended.
Yeah, let me...
Larry Molinax says, let's get to it.
Let's get to it. All right, so I got an interesting question from one of my clients about house pricing. Now, I've been looking for them for something in like the 700 to 800K range. And very, very particular, they want high-speed internet. They're coming from an area that actually has high-speed internet and various other things they're interested in. But one of the areas that I immediately went to was Glenmore. And I said, well, what about Glenmore? They've got good internet access there. I mean, it's got the full package. Now, it's a full community, which is less of what they were more looking for a rural setting.
Sure.
But it feels a little bit rural out there. You got a lot of space between the houses. Keswick's gorgeous. Yeah. But then they came back to me, hey, we did a little research into the market, and it looks like the housing market in Keswick, specifically in Glenmore, sort of stagnated for about 10 years. Between the 2008 crash and recently. And then all of a sudden it bumped up with everybody else when COVID came around. What's your take on this? If we were to seriously look at Glenmore, I mean, after the pandemic bump is over, is it going to go back into this slump? What do you think? And I didn't give him an immediate answer. I had some questions about it, but I thought.
Did you talk to Denise?
I did.
Denise live there?
We want to know your thoughts.
Okay.
I want to get Jerry's professional opinion. Jerry lives in Glenmore.
I do.
And is a known, expert on the real estate market. I'll give some my opinion. But you better be at this point. You've got your whole business.
I do a lot of real estate. Yes, I do a lot of real estate.
So I've got some opinions, and I thought we could bounce it back and forth. And maybe I can send this to them at the end, and they'll have a better idea of what's going on.
Should we create him a sizzle reel for Glenmore to help him with his clients? We could totally do that, and we can send him the sizzle reel.
Yeah.
So clients of the fabulous Steve Harvey. Here's our take on pricing in Glenmore to offer you some research. Okay, so you're exactly right. There was a 10-year period where pricing undoubtedly was flat. We know that COVID-19 has put tailwinds behind housing in totality, certainly housing in neighborhoods that have outside amenities. In Glenmore, you can play golf, you have 3 pools, 14 tennis courts, 4 pickleball courts, 2 platform tennis courts, like 18 miles of hiking trails, walking paths. It is the perfect setting for quarantining or uncertainty because of the pandemic. You highlighted reliable internet. So we know why that the prices have boomed. And dude, they're off the chain right now in the neighborhood. Now, the question you asked, why the 10-year period before COVID did prices not increase? I was wondering the same before buying in there. So here's my take on it. My take on, in that 10-year period after the housing crash, 2008 and beyond, the price points in Glenmore, which we know are higher, they were a little softer and slower to rebound after the housing crash. Secondly, I'll cut to the chase, I live there.
Why were they slower to rebound? I mean, that's the fact, and you can see the fact on the charts if you look at them.
Less people can afford the prices.
Okay.
There's less buyers out there for those price points.
So it was a poor economic situation for buyers.
Yeah, it was. I mean, let's cut to the chase. I mean,
did.
You're looking at, in that neighborhood, you're probably looking at starting price point 6 all the way up to 2-3 million.
Yep.
So there's less buyers at that price point. So it was slower to recover after the housing crash. Secondly, I'll cut to the chase. When you're driving from Keswick and you have to get to Market Street for a meeting with the fabulous Steve Harvey, and you left a little late because your 3-year-old took a poop on the bathroom floor instead of the potty, like he was supposed to doing, and Daddy was getting ready and he wasn't watching. You remember those days.
Yep.
Okay, it's going to be difficult for you to make that meeting on time with Steve Harvey. Coming down Pantops Mountain,
yep.
It's tough. It's tough. So that's something that's made some folks a little scared. Now, what's happened is we now can work from home more. So that commute is less of a concern for Glenmornians.
Yeah. Okay. Here was something I've been kicking around.
Okay.
So I think that the Glenmore type neighborhood had a more of a
You're talking gated community?
yes,
Okay.
but of that nature, in a really nice part of town where it's quiet, where the houses are even though it's a gated community, it's a nice gated community. The golf course is beautiful, the houses are beautiful, everything's perfectly scaped, it's gorgeous. If that's what you're looking for, it's kind of the perfect image of that kind of thing.
Sure.
And in this area, they had that market a bit cornered. There was Glenmore, there's some stuff out on Ivy, and...
What are you saying, Farmington?
Yeah, but that's kind of, right by Ivy, Farmington.
Keswick Estates.
It's like 3 or 4 for the whole area.
Yeah.
Now, going through the early 2000s, they kind of still had that market, but then the housing and the expense of living in Albemarle County started to jump. Mm-hmm. And this became a much more, I think it was late 90s, this was named the best place to live in the country. Mm-hmm. And you had more and more people coming here, especially people of means that are like, well, I just want to live in the nicest place in America.
Sure.
That sounds nice. So
and they sold like a $4 million brownstone in Brooklyn.
Exactly.
And came down here with a bag of money.
Yep. So they came down here with a bag of money. They looked at Glenmore and they went, well,
this is reasonable.
There's nothing for sale in there, or, that's reasonable, but I had my own thing in mind, and they started building their own houses. And they went around Albemarle County, and the land prices started to go up as they started to scoop these things up, build more houses. As the land prices went up, if you're going to buy something for $150,000, you're not putting a $300,000 house on it.
Right.
You're putting a $6 million or
right.
$600,000 house on it. So property values go up, people start building more expensive houses. All of a sudden, the niche that Glenmore had, which was $600,000 to $3 million,
got saturated.
Got dozens out in the county as all these people came in and started building these houses. And then the market crashes, and all of a sudden you've got a massive supply of $700,000-$800,000 houses across the county. And I wonder if you could get a snapshot of just those priced houses if they all stagnated. If it wasn't a Glenmore issue, if it was a within the market, this subset of these nice houses, in the 800 to 2 million range, that they all just kind of stayed the same for like an extended period. And now they're all bumping up through the roof like crazy because all those people from New York are now like, we must live there. It's no longer a, we might want to live there. It's a, we can't do anything living in New York City, so we must leave. And it's a little bit dangerous for the market up there too, because you have all these houses that are just empty.
Right.
They said 500,000 people left New York City during the pandemic.
That's true. Now they're starting to trickle back.
500,000 people did not sell their houses in New York City.
No, but
they
not all of them also own. A lot of them rented.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I would stake serious money on many of these people had the means to buy something that they considered very inexpensive out here, and they just kept it.
100% true.
And so now you have a dearth of housing here and in New York City.
Here's the crazy thing is, so my wife and I, we bought our home there in March 2020.
Okay.
So this was
Wow.
right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
We're negotiating, I represented myself, we're negotiating the deal December, January, February, before the you-know-what is hitting the fan.
Yeah.
And when we were negotiating the purchase of this home, there were 80-some homes on the market for sale. There's 870 rooftops in the community. So when over 10% of the community is listed for sale, you're like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
But as a buyer, it gave me leverage because I knew that if this deal didn't go through, I would be like, I'm just going to go to your neighbor and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I was able to close it before the pandemic hit. And then when the pandemic hit, dude, I saw neighbors, like older folks, realizing they could cash out because folks from DC, Arlington, McLean were selling their $1.2 million townhome, 1,100 square feet, coming and buying a 5,000 square foot house, paying cash, and then banking $400K.
Yep.
The people literally across the street from us, it's a husband and wife. The wife works for Deloitte in DC. The husband's an attorney in DC. They're able to keep their jobs, and they've moved to here, Albemarle County in Keswick, and they're working from an ISP while maintaining their salary in Washington, DC.
Wow.
They're living the dream.
Yeah.
They're working from a home office. They bank probably $400K. They still got their DC salary, but they got a cost of living in this area that's a hell of a lot lower.
It's remarkable. You must be doing the jig now.
What's the jig? We're pretty happy.
You must
We're
have a
pleased.
huge amount of equity in
We
your
do.
house without putting more than a normal
living
mortgage
there a
into
year
it.
and change there. That's
That
true.
is gorgeous. We might have the same thing. We built in Northern Albemarle. We bought 15 acres. We're building a farm. It's great with the kids, by the way.
How's that going, the farm?
It's beautiful. I've cleared about 3 acres at this point by hand, renting machines, ripping up stuff, trying to put in we got a prairie growing at this point, doing bees and, eventually we're going to have the chicken coop and everything. It's going to be amazing. It's just going to be a beautiful little thing. We're trying to keep it all bucolic. So the trees that we've taken out give us the view of the mountains. And we didn't just take down the trees to take down the trees. We're going to be creating a prairie there that's going to be creating all kinds of new creatures and
It's like a little house on the prairie for the Harveys.
I hope so. I very much hope so. We've got some deer that are now, cultivating. We've got wild turkeys that have been laying eggs in the forest.
We're not talking
beyond
the
our
wild
house.
turkey you drink.
No,
actual birds.
creatures with feathers.
Okay,
yeah.
my
A whole
friend.
clutch of eggs was there, and my daughter's like, "Oh my gosh, we should take these." I'm like, "Well, hold on, they belong to a mother turkey." But my daughter has a terrarium full of salamanders that she found on the property. She feeds them worms at night. It's amazing. We are absolutely loving it, and having that kind of land gives you a real appreciation for property rights and freedom to do what you want to do on your property and being a good steward of God's gift to man, Earth.
Which you are.
Yeah, and
an evangelist
we're trying to do
for the
all of it.
community?
We're trying to do all of it. We're
I know
trying
you
to do
are.
the whole thing. We've got the kids, the barn, and now we've got the free market going too. Because I was in the government for a long time.
Sure.
Whether it was flying helicopters with the Army or doing stuff with Congress or running for local office, and I talked about the free market all the time when I was running for office. And people would ask me, well, what have you done in the free market? Well, I was a busboy when I was in high school, and
Well, now you're a real estate agent. You're in the free
now
market.
I'm doing real estate
Yeah.
thing, and it's fantastic.
Do you enjoy it?
You meet a client, you find out what they want. Your whole mission is to satisfy their desires within this field, and that's exactly what the free market is. It doesn't get any more free market than that. And just being accountable, being that person that people know they can go to if they have a question, even if they don't want to sell right now, they just want to know about it, because I am dug in. I'm working with such an expert team with Denise and Tony and Jill and
Our
Kelly.
friend Lisa.
Lisa, yep.
Yeah.
The whole team is just so informative and selfless. They're just totally anything you need. Oh yeah, I'll help you show that house. I'll help you do this. Let's study contracts together. Let's go over the market research stuff, RPR, Paragon. I wish it wasn't so expensive to get started, though. Holy moly.
Let people know what the barrier of entry to become a realtor is.
It's heavy.
Like what's a price tag, rough?
So just, you have to decide how much you want to spend on the class to begin with.
Okay.
So, there are various ways. You just do it straight up online. That'll cost you $200 or $300.
Okay.
Or you could do an in-person class, and you're talking $600 to $1,000.
You did it in person, right?
I did it online.
Oh, you did online?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you have to pay to take the actual class for the state.
Okay.
And most people have to take it multiple times. So you're paying that fee over and over again. I'd really suggest you read everything twice.
Was the test tough?
I have no idea. This is something I wanted to complain about, too, with the test. They only show you your score if you fail. So I take the test, and
Did you take it once?
Just once. Yeah,
Oh,
I took it just once.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I worked. I took it like a job. I was
Okay.
like, I'm going to take this. This is my job now. I'm going to read every single thing. I'm going to go in there like an expert. There were 5 or 6 questions that I wasn't sure about by the end, which is probably
Everybody.
That's not supposed to be a humble brag.
Yeah.
But
that's very few
there
questions.
Were 5 or 6 questions.
Out of how many?
100 and something.
Okay, so you're doing pretty damn good.
I felt very confident that I
Yeah.
was easily passing it. However, I didn't know the answer to those questions.
And you wanted the answer because you're a
I
perfectionist.
wanted the answer
Yeah.
to the question. So I go up to the test givers afterwards and I go, here you go. They go, okay, you pass. It's like, okay, can I see the
They said no.
answers or can I even know what I got? Because it's in multiple sections.
Yeah.
So how was I on legal versus, client care versus this versus that? And they just said, oh, no, we only provide that if you fail. So you don't actually care about the quality of the agents you're producing. Because if somebody passes, you would think that they'd be like, all right, now you're going out in the world representing Virginia, representing the Realtors Association, representing what have you. We want to make sure you're the best you're going to possibly be. So we're going to show you what you got wrong and make sure you study it. That's what a actual quality program would be, but it's state run, so it's you fail, it will show you what you did wrong so you can pass it the next time easier. It should be, we don't show you if you fail.
Yeah.
So you have to study the whole thing.
And if you
but
pass, here's how you can improve and get better.
Exactly. Here's your weak spot. You're weak on legal. You're weak on this. Make sure you read up on that before you get a real client, blah, blah, blah. No. We're not going to tell you anything. Go off and do your thing. So that could be anywhere from the $70 or I think it was around 110 maybe, something like that. But if you have to take it 5 times, you're talking $500.
So what's the all-in cost to become an agent?
Maybe $3,500.
Dang.
That is steep, especially if, these are people that are going into a new job, a new career path, and they're like, I want to get into this. You've got to have some nest egg saved up or a job that you're doing while you're doing this. I heavily say that. And then once you get into the market, there's months of loading period. People need to find out that you're actually doing this job. You need to get experience with other realtors that
You
they
need
know
like
that
a
you're
year
doing.
burn rate, don't you?
About
At
at least 6 months
Yeah.
to start getting some clients under your belt that you're helping out and stuff like that. But probably a year and a half before you're actually making the money that you put into it, especially when you start out on a $3,500 deficit. Just to get the code, just to access to the website that you need to unlock those doors. They walk up and they go beep, 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 bap, 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 bap,
Sure.
click, and then you go in the house with your agent. That's $1,800. That cost $1,800 to open the first door that you open. I didn't know that. When I had real estate, I look back and I feel guilty now because I've had real estate agents try and help me do stuff in the past. We ended up just building. But for 6 months before we decided to build, we had agents taking us out and looking at property after property. And the whole time we're thinking, is there a FSBO we can find? Is there somebody that's listing? And we're researching because we didn't want to give the real estate agent the fee. And now I look back and I feel so guilty because the amount of work and the cost of just being an agent, it feels almost malicious to avoid it because these guys work their tail off. I've done dozens of open houses, maybe upwards of 20 or something like that, and you don't get a single client. It's, you learn more about the properties, you get to meet more people and stuff like that, and somebody might eventually ask you to be the client. But you might go months and months of working without getting a single paycheck. And knowing that now, I look back and I'm like, man, we should have at least tipped the guy.
Well, yeah. Maybe more than that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to leave it alone here. Grace says, are there too many agents, Mr. Harvey? And you got the Mr. Harvey right there.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. There are a lot of people that have a real estate license, hundreds, maybe thousands, at least 1,000, right now, Morrow County?
I think
Isn't
it's,
it like 1,100
we actually
or
asked this
something?
question the other day. I think it's somewhere between 1,100 and 1,200 in car.
Okay. So the vast majority of those people don't aggressively pursue this career.
Right. It's like a side hustle.
It's a side job.
Yeah.
You're a stay-at-home dad or a stay-at-home mom, and you have a big friend network, and this guy's listing. Hey, let me help you list your house. That kind of deal. That's the vast majority of the people. There are 100 maybe, I'd say. Would you say 100 roughly serious real estate agents?
What is the saying? My previous career was
Pareto principle?
sports broadcaster.
Yeah.
So I was doing ESPN, radio, NBC TV.
I know. Working with Joe Thomas.
Yeah, Joe Thomas, my friend. He was a great boss. And I learned from folks like Joe in the broadcasting business. It's like 10% of the broadcasters make 75% of the money.
Is that Pareto distribution?
I'm not sure what that means.
We'll have to get your guy.
Yeah.
Pareto distribution, is that what it is? Or in the Army, it was 10% of your soldiers take up 90% of your time. And the principle goes for everything. If you look at the best classical musicians of all time, right? We remember 10% of them.
Right.
The 90% lost to time.
Right.
And then if you take the best of that 10%, you take Beethoven, you take, Mozart.
Yeah.
People only know about 10% of the things they made.
Right.
And it goes on and on. Of the 10%, if you took the whole population, they could just name one song. It's like that all of the people, and I believe it's called Pareto distribution.
Oh, wow. Judah Wickower is pulling the mic in. I love when Judah Wickower pulls the mic in over here. This is our crack research.
Here we go. What do we got?
Man.
There's way too much to get into it because it's pretty heavy, but here's a quick, you're right, Pareto, P-A-R-E-T-O distribution. So here are some examples. 20% of criminals commit 80% of crimes. 20% of drivers cause 80% of accidents. 80% of pollution originates from 20% of all factories. So
There you go.
So it just works out that way, and it's across the board. That's not just something for human sociology and what we do, all the crazy stuff we do. It's for lobsters, it's for birds, it's for alligators. Across the board, 20% of hatchlings will grow up to be juveniles. 20% of juveniles will grow up to be adults. That's the way it works across the board on almost everything. And so for real estate, it's the exact same way. 20% of the real estate agents are doing 80% of the business. And, I think that's true. Are there too many? I don't think so. It's a good, healthy market where it keeps us all hungry. You know that if I'm not doing a good job for you, there's another person ready in the wings to swoop in there and scoop you up. And that's what you want. You want that in every market. So
You're getting questions.
Okay, more.
You want some questions?
Throw them at me.
Okay. So this one right here is about the supervisors, Albemarle County, who took issue with the Crozet Community Advisory Committee, which recently had a vote in Crozet. And the Board of Supervisors had to chastise the Crozet Community Advisory Committee a bit. Did you follow that at all?
No, I didn't hear about that.
So first, let me ask you this: do you know much about the Crozet Community Advisory Committee? Okay.
Yeah.
What do you make of the CCAC? What do you make of these advisory committees? Are the advisory committees necessary? And I'm going to say this: I'm going to take a page from Neil Williamson, Free Enterprise Forum. He's not a fan of the advisory committees. Basically saying it's creating more, bureaucracy, more red tape, another layer of local government. And I think both of us we have a lot of similarities. I'm very libertarian in my mindset. I am physically conservative, socially liberal. I just don't want the government in my pocket.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to it for me. Okay.
Or in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Keep
or
them
my
out
bedroom. Yeah. I certainly don't want the government in my bedroom. So what do you make of the Crozet Community Advisory Committee and whether it's actually a necessity for Albemarle County to function?
It is not a necessity. However, it was born of a good idea. I mean, this was a really solid idea. Let's get each of these really specific communities that have very specific interests and put together somebody to voice their concerns. That we can break it up a little bit more, and we'll just get Crozet, this tight little knit community, and we'll say, all right, what does Crozet think about something? And that advisory committee is supposed to voice what the people in that area think. Now, what does it turn into is the question. Does it turn into a clique of people that are always on the board, have a very specific political mindset, and then, claim that that's what everybody in their area wants? If that's the case, then no, it's not fit for service and you should retry. But getting more voices involved, and I think that was the intent, was to have another voice to come in. Hey, you guys are talking about the road out in Ivy. We have a very specific interest in that. The traffic has gotten bad coming from Crozet to Charlottesville. We want to have a voice that you can come to. Is there a particular stop sign that you guys feel is unsafe? Does the community have a voice on this? Because that's what you need. As a legislator, you need to know. Now, is Crozet big enough that you can't, as a supervisor, just go knock on some doors and get that answer? You can kind of just go knock on some doors and get that answer. So, I don't know. It's a tough thing. I wouldn't say shut it down, obviously. They don't actually have any true authority.
It's just more of a sounding board. Kind of like a guidance mechanism.
Yeah, and as long as it's fit for purpose, as long as it's doing the right thing, as long as you make sure that the people on there aren't the same people that were on there 3 years ago. Keep it mixed up. Hey, let's put term limits on, on the advisory board to get a flow of different ideas coming through the little thing.
You have Karen Harvey watching. Who's Karen Harvey?
That's my mom.
Mom's watching. Is she in Forest, Virginia?
Yep.
Karen Harvey, welcome to the broadcast. A big fan of your son here, Karen Harvey. So let's talk more Crozet, and then we'll talk some supervisors talks.
Well, I want to quick with you.
Sure.
I mean, you're talking about running for supervisor.
I am.
What do you think of these committees?
I think the committees are useful if expectations are set correctly with the committees from the beginning. If the committees, almost like the Planning Commission with council or the Board of Supervisors, is in its lane, and following protocol, and then offering that guidance to the 6 on the supervisors or the 5 on the dais in Charlottesville, then I'm all for it. If the committees take on a mindset a little larger than what they should, then I think it's something like another aspect of government that's going to be inefficient. And the last thing I want, I'm a small business owner, you're a business owner yourself in real estate. The last thing I want is more inefficiencies. I'm able to walk into this building and say, we're going to do this now. I expect it done in 90 minutes. And it gets done.
Beautiful.
And for 13 years, we've been doing it. We've been successful doing that. If this is another layer of bureaucracy that keeps proof of performance from happening, then I'm not for it.
So if those committees have the ability to stop legislation or stop official action, then I don't agree anymore with it. If they're fit to give your supervisor of that area the consensus of what people in this area are interested in so that they can legislate properly, then I'm all for it. It's a great idea.
That's how I feel.
And it might be even critical because there are areas like that and people don't get to voice their concerns at the Board of Supervisor meetings, and knowing that there's some weight behind it. So you don't want them to be able to stop the legislation. What you want them to be able to do is say, hey, we had Steve Harvey or Jerry Miller elected for Board of Supervisors, and he never came to our meetings, and he never talked to us. He never wanted to know what Crozet thought. He never wanted to know what Scottsville thought. So we're going to use our weight to make sure that he's not the supervisor next time. That should be the power of these committees.
That's good.
That's exactly what they should be built to do. They should have some kind, I mean, if they're doing their job properly, they should be talking to the people in their area. All those voters should be directly connecting with that committee. They should be able to go out into Old Trail or into downtown Crozet or walk around and be like, hey, remember how we brought in Steve Harvey? He didn't come to any of our meetings. And if they're actually doing their job properly, hey, remember how I've been here every 3 months checking in on you, making sure that we had your impressions right when we go to talk? Well, guess what? He never came to the meeting. We need to get this guy out of here. That's what they should be built to do. But if it's just another barrier to getting something passed, no, absolutely not.
Matthew Coppinger says, I live in Old Trail, and I have a question for both of you. We seem to be at a crossroads here in Crozet as more density comes to the area. What do you both see as the best vision or future for this community of Crozet? That's a good question.
The best vision. Well,
I mean, do you think it should be a town?
I don't know how much control we really have at this point. I mean, the plan is set in motion. The permits are written. Old Trail is building.
I think he means Crozet in totality, not Old Trail.
I probably wouldn't continue going hog wild on building more massive developments out there. I mean,
and that's coming from a real estate agent.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a lot. Ivy Road has not been expanded. The traffic hasn't been horrible, but we've been having pandemic.
We've been COVID.
We've been COVID traffic.
Yeah.
So everybody's probably, the problem went away. Steve Harvey was making a big deal about traffic out here for nothing.
Yeah, it's because we're in a pandemic.
So when everything is kind of kicking back into normal, that traffic will definitely come back, and with a vengeance, because of the number of people that have moved in since it started. Since a year ago, the number of houses that have gone up out in Crozet and Old Trail specifically, through the roof.
Yeah.
Now, maybe many of these people will continue to work from home. Maybe we'll avoid some problems through that. That'd be fantastic. What is the vision, though? Revitalizing, maybe re-emphasizing that we need to get some of these wineries and breweries that keep on going down 151 into Nelson. I feel a little bit like I'm hitting a dead horse here, but those businesses should have been in Albemarle County. And that area should be, a tourist destination, bringing in that revenue so that we don't have to keep on increasing taxes on the landowners out here.
He follows by saying, are you a proponent of a downtown in Crozet, like a downtown mall?
They're building, I believe the permits are already approved. They've got some stuff going on. That sounds really interesting, and it'll probably work out pretty well. I like what they're doing in Old Trail. I know they're putting up eye doctors and dentists and whatnot right in the middle of Old. Do you know about that? Yeah,
absolutely.
That's going to be fantastic because you've got that elder community right there, and being able to say, look,
my doctor's across the street.
You just go, if you're in a wheelchair bound or whatever it is, there's no calling a bus and going all the way to. It's just roll me across the street and boom, I'm getting my eyes checked. You can't beat that. Like, that's fantastic. There's restaurants, there's coffee shops, everything else going in there. Having less people having to drive all the way down Ivy Road, the traffic there is already bad, or 64. You just don't want, you want to keep as many of those cars off the road, whether you're an environmentalist or you just don't like traffic, whatever it is. I don't like cars on the road. More time for tractors to drive down with their hay bales.
Camilla Priest, welcome to the broadcast, and thank you for joining us. If you have any questions or comments that you want to hear on the show, put them in the comment section on any social platform. If you want to give Steve Harvey some props, put it in the comment section. So Jennifer Bryant has a question for you.
1 second before.
Sure.
I want to know what you thought of that. What do you think? He said it was for both of us. What do you think of Old Trail?
At Old Trail?
Old Trail and Crozet in general. Do you think it needs its own township?
No. I don't think it needs its own township. I do not think it needs its own township. I think we also need to be, I am pro housing. I'm pro strategic housing. And what pro strategic housing means, we know we're short on rooftops in our region, but we got to make sure when we add the rooftops to the region that we're also considering things like infrastructure, like roads, fire, police, rescue. We can't just build rooftops and not think about the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I think we certainly are at a crossroads because COVID has made this area less affordable for people. We have people from big cities moving here. Realtor magazine said baby boomers, the Charlottesville metro area, the second most popular area for baby boomers to move to. My neighbor across the street is working for DC firms, living in Keswick. So the affordability index in Charlottesville, I don't think, in Albemarle County, has never been worse. So I'm pro-housing. But if we're going to go housing, we got to think infrastructure as well.
Oh, yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, well, that's absolutely correct.
A lot of folks don't see it that way.
Then I beg you to go look at Old Trail and Ivy Road.
Or Fredericksburg,
because they
Virginia.
said, I mean, we made plans. It was, we're going to increase the population out here because we got to find a place to put it. And, you know, that was a decision made in the early 2000s, and they've run with it big time. Part of that plan was to expand roads and infrastructure. They never did that part.
Right.
They were happy to send out the permits to build 1 billion houses, and then they never expanded the road to make it livable.
And if you live in Crozet, and you know, you live in the area, if you live there and there's an accident on 64 and traffic is backed up, you have only one other entry to your home.
Yep.
And then that's when you see quality of life significantly impacted.
I mean, let's talk about this again later
Sure.
when that traffic comes back.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm preaching here, and people are going to be like, I've been driving I moved here 9 months ago. I never saw traffic
Well,
once."
but you're right, though. And the reason you're
Yeah.
right is because the vaccines are coming out and people are starting to feel more consumer confidence, so they're going to get in their cars and go.
And once they start experiencing that, we can get back into Crozet. It'll come back. Don't worry, folks. Like, they have not improved the infrastructure since I ran 2 years ago.
Kim
Same as
Smith-
it was before.
Kim Smith is giving you some props right now. Welcome to the broadcast, Kim Smith.
Hey, Kim.
Frank Vretos is watching the show.
Frank.
Jennifer Bryant's got a question for you.
Okay.
She says she lives in Albemarle County. Question for both of us, she says. I'll throw it to Steve. What do you guys make of so many unopposed races on the Board of Supervisors? We talked about this last time briefly. You got 3 of them, Steve.
It's tough, man. It is tough to run a race. You're about to find out. I mean, you already have a sense of it right now. It is expensive. It is massively time-consuming. It can be horribly embarrassing because if you don't do a good job, everybody that did give you donations is going to be like, what did you do with my money? You're making promises. It hurts to make promises, especially if you plan on keeping them. So it is expensive in many ways to run for office. And when there is no chance of you winning, it feels like you're just bashing yourself in the head with a hammer. And when we've got 3 districts that are tightly wrapped around Charlottesville, it's just the Democrats just keep on winning. And they win by more every year. And I know John Lowry very well. He was my treasurer when I ran, and he ran down in off 29 North Garden.
Okay.
What is the name of that? It's not Rio. I forget the name of it. Samuel Miller?
Yeah, Samuel Miller, okay.
Samuel Miller District. And he did a wonderful job. He raised a lot of money. There's no gaffes. There's no pictures of him showing up Northam style. There's nothing like that. Guy gets completely decimated. Lost by 15, 20% or something like that, even though he did a fantastic job. How is the next person with a different mindset, another non-Democrat, whether you're a libertarian, a Republican, independent, whatever it is, you can't look at that and go, I want to dump the next 6 months and money and reputation, potential embarrassment, all of that for 6 months on a 1 in 30 chance of winning. It's a bad bet. And so we just don't get people coming forward. I don't know what to do about that. What do you think? What do you do about that?
I don't know what to do about it either. Diantha McKeel's running unopposed. Ned Galloway running unopposed.
Yep.
The gentleman who's replacing Liz Palmer and the Samuel Miller running unopposed. So 3 of the 6 spots in the election this year have no competition. And as free market guys, dude, that burns me the hell up.
Oh, yeah.
It burns me up.
Well, not as a free market guy, as just I want the government to work well person. That should look really bad.
Right.
Like,
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Diantha, this is going to be her 3rd or 4th term.
Yeah.
How many has Ann been? This is Ann's
she's heading
4th?
into 20 years.
So is this her 4th term?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
McKeel, this is her 3rd term. Galloway, this is going to be his 2nd term. I mean, these folks are running with no competition, camping out on the Board of Supervisors.
Even if you're a dyed-in-the-blue Democrat, and you're like, I just want to make sure there's a Democrat on there, at least then put some pressure to have some internal debate within the party. Like, you know that there isn't going to be a Republican running there because you saw what happened to John Lowry. The other two districts 4 years ago, had nobody.
Yeah.
So it was John and nobody, and they cleaned up all of it. Knowing that, wanting to have the best possible local government, how come we don't see them putting forward primary candidates? They're either just not interested, they're happy with the status quo, whatever it is. It doesn't feel like honest, though. It just feels like, oh, we've got our guys, it's a team sport. As long as it's a blue, then I'm okay with it. No. Try and you know that it's a 6-person board that's all Democrat right now. As a Democrat, you know that. Bring in the competition. Help out the people that maybe don't say the world the same way as you, that at least they have some confidence that there was a debate before they picked who it was. Because they've done all kinds of things. Diantha McKeel's done all kinds of stuff. I'm not prepared to talk about the different things that she's proposed and voted on, but I did know it 2 years ago when I was running, and there were a lot of things that were bad.
She started as an independent.
Really?
Yeah. I found that out. Started as an independent and then realized the party machine,
Yeah.
that if she tagged, hitched her wagon to the machine, she would have much better resources, infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. But she started as an independent.
That's not a bad,
The Board of Supervisors.
not a bad idea.
Wanda Schenk is watching the program, and she says, bring back the Bull Moose Party, Steve Harvey.
Well, talk to Jerry about that. He's the one running independent.
Wanda, we love when you watch the program, and thank you for chiming in. Anything else on your mind, my friend? I enjoy talking to you. We've gone 50 minutes, and it's
Wow.
felt like 5 minutes.
Feels like
It's
30,
1:40.
yeah.
So if you have a 2 o'clock meeting, I don't know. Do you have a 2 o'clock meeting?
Well, I always have meetings, but not at 2 o'clock. We can keep talking if there are other. What was the sheet up there? You had the
The
topics.
PTI headers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
there
sure.
was- I thought there was a couple things on there that.
90 degrees and mask. Will mask go? Lumber futures are falling, so they're starting to stabilize, which should help the housing market.
Yeah.
Teens filling the job voids.
Okay, we got through there.
We got through that. Harrisonburg Rosetta Stone was founded in Harrisonburg in 1992. The company just got purchased and is laying off people in Harrisonburg.
I think that is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't, how many people would work for a company like that?
mean,
Because it's a
the pay's
software
good.
company.
Yeah.
No. I'm not saying that you shouldn't work there. I'm just wondering how many employees does a company? Is it marketing teams? Is that what it is? Because the software is built.
I would
Rosetta
say-
Stone's fantastic. Yeah, but
I would say it's software. I would say it's developers. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
so continuing to improve the product.
continue
I
and
guess.
improve the product.
And
Yeah,
marketing
brand
it.
managers, etc. Yeah.
So these people are probably going to land on their feet okay. If it's a lot of programmer types and stuff like that, it's a little surprising to hear they're laying off considering the number of people that are now at home.
Well, they bought
Maybe-
the company. The new company bought it, and they have redundancies with jobs.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're just trying to make the payroll more efficient because
You
they
don't
have
need two marketing teams.
exactly.
You don't need to,
Yeah, they
okay.
already have marketing teams in place elsewhere.
Okay. That is interesting. I didn't know it was a Virginia company.
I didn't know it was in
Makes
Harrisonburg
me want to
either.
go learn a new language.
Yeah, 1992, founded by 3 dudes in
Yeah.
Harrisonburg.
Have you ever used it?
No.
I used it briefly when I went to my sister's wedding in France.
Okay.
Just to brush up on where's the bathroom and,
And did you pick anything up?
Nothing that stuck. I did need. I have a heavily carnivore diet that I do, almost exclusively meat. At this point, it's much better for arthritis and stuff. For me, I'd see your doctor before you start eating hamburgers.
So you went Atkins?
Kind of. I try and focus more on fat, like as much fat as I can get, and as few carbs, no sugar, that kind of deal. It's worked wonders. I used to have horrible arthritis in my hands from flying helicopters because you're not supposed to, but for me, I had a death grip on those controls at all times.
Yeah, you're flying a helicopter.
Constantly feeling like you're going to die. The first 2 weeks when I was learning to hover, every day I actually thought that I was going to die. Like, in 3 seconds, I'm going to die. That's a weird feeling to repeatedly have over 2 weeks.
Good night.
And then all of a sudden, one day, I got a different instructor. He was from Sweden or France. I don't remember. There were a lot of interesting guys in the instructor pool. But I got this. My instructor said, I give up. Steve can't hover. He can't figure it out. So I'm giving you to this guy. Hopefully he can help you better. I couldn't understand a word the guy was saying. So I'm sitting there, and he's like, no, whatever he said, I have no idea. Keep pretending like I know what he's saying, because you can only cue up the mic and say, can you say that again? You can only say that 3 times before you feel like you're imposing something horrible on the person you're talking to. So eventually I just started pretending like I was hearing, because what he was saying doesn't help anyway. And then all of a sudden we just started hovering. And he's like, see, you did it perfectly. And wait, what? I thought he had the controls. It was me that was hovering. It just eventually happened. And they kept saying that was going to be the case, but you never believe them. And after 2 weeks straight of thinking you're going to die, and then he said, and as soon as he said that you're doing perfectly, and I looked down and I looked at his hands and he was doing this, playing with the armrests, and he didn't have the controls, all of a sudden the helicopter started doing because I realized that I was the one doing it. And he was like, what are you doing? And I said, I don't know, but the next day.
But you figured it out.
The next day I was hovering perfectly.
Yeah.
And I never believed it, but what a wild experience flying was. We'll have to talk more about that sometime. It was really marvelous.
Katie Pearl of Keller Williams.
Hey, Katie, how you doing?
She says, way to go, Steve.
Okay. Katie wants to talk to you sometime.
Oh, let's do it, Katie.
So, what's interesting? After we did our last show,
okay,
I was contacted by 5 people.
Oh, wow.
Saying, great job on Jerry Miller.
Great.
4 of the 5 were realtors.
Get out of town.
And I was like, wait a minute.
He's
got a realtor show, and it's viewed only by realtors.
You want buyers and sellers.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
You said instead of these damn people, get me some buyers and sellers.
But it's cool. It's like you've got your own clique of people these are just the ones that reached out to me. I'm sure there's a lot of...
Katie, well, why don't we throw this for Katie here? The State of the Union for Real Estate in Central Virginia. For Katie.
For Katie?
Yeah.
She's a real estate...
No. Your State of the Union for real estate in Central Virginia.
Oh, it's hot. I mean, it's super hot. If you've got something to sell, now is the time. Especially if you've thought of moving to a less dense area or something like that. If you've got a single floor master, like that is the hottest commodity of all time right now. As people try and, downsize their larger houses because they're retiring or something like that. Everybody saw the price of their house skyrocket, and so there's a lot of people that are selling, and now they're looking to downgrade to something smaller with a first floor master. That's what I've seen, massively. All across the rural area, people that had 4,000 square foot houses are like, I need to liquidate while the prices are high. I need to go find something new. You hate to break it to them that you're like, yeah, I know, your house is going to sell for a lot more than you paid for it. And you're about to go buy one that's selling for a lot more than they paid for it. That's how it works. It'll be really interesting to see where this market is 1 year from now.
Yeah.
With the huge amount of development going on 29 North.
Brook Hill.
And the massive influx of
out-of-towners.
COVID refugees.
Yeah, COVID refugees.
Yeah.
I call them digital nomads. You call them COVID refugees. I like that. COVID refugees.
Probably a combination of the two. But I don't know. Where do you think it's going to be a year from now?
I think it's going to be the same it is now. I think,
really?
I do.
Wow.
I think it's going to continue to be unaffordable. I think prices are going to continue to spike. There is a tremendous lack of inventory on the market. We've created this crisis years ago by not building enough homes. We have tremendous amount of regulations that are driving up the cost of real estate. I learned this on Tuesday on Real Talk with Keith Smith and Neil Williamson. 24% of a cost of a home in Virginia is money tied to regulations. So nearly a quarter of a cost of a home in Virginia is money spent by the builder tied to regulations by the municipality.
Well,
and when I heard that,
you're gonna get me fired up, Jerry. You're gonna get me fired up.
When I heard that as a libertarian, I'm like, this is a microcosm of what is wrong. I mean, if we're driving up the cost of housing so much because of crappy rules and red tape, making folks unable to afford to live here, that is what's wrong.
Doesn't that just lend such a lie to every government official that mentions the word affordable and connects it with housing?
I'm convinced after doing this show and talking to stakeholders in this community for years here, I am convinced that affordable housing is a talking point. A talking point and not an actuality of a campaign. or somebody getting elected and the work they can do in office.
Yep. It's like the national debt for Republicans. It's like racism and climate change for Democrats. Local politicians, it's affordable housing. There is no plan. There's nothing that will solve it. It's just something like there is something that will solve it. They don't plan on implementing what will solve it is the problem. And it's the same across the board with these really big issues. And for local government, that is affordable housing. That's the big issue.
Katie, Pearl, I'm getting ready to build in Steve's neighborhood, actually. But those regulatory costs make me sick to my stomach. She says, low inventory, low interest rates, smoking hot sellers market, so challenging though for buyers. Curious to see if interest rates rising drive down the price or stabilize it at least. I think increased interest rates will stabilize this market. I truly believe that. All right, why don't we close on this? I got a 2 o'clock right around the corner here. A message from Steve Harvey to the Whitehall District.
If you've thought in the last couple of years of changing the scenery, of downgrading to upgrading to a cabin in a rural area or something like that, it is now. Now is the time. We put a house on the market with Denise and the team. We're putting a house on the market, and 4 or 5 days later, we're talking about which offer we're taking. It has never been more painless to sell a house than it is right now. People are super respectful when they're doing the open house in your house. Everybody is not touching things. Everybody's staying clean. They're taking their shoes off. So whatever your concern is about selling a house at some point in your life in the future, now it is better than it would be at any other time. I think. I'm very certain of that. So if you're considering something like that, then reach out, make it happen, because it'll go fast. It'll be painless. And it's just a good idea. If not, to all the people that voted for me, stay in Whitehall, don't sell and move somewhere else. Just stick around because
you're gonna run again.
Maybe I'll run again. Or if you
is Ann running again?
Let me say this real quick. Anybody out there that's listening that agrees with a lot of the things that Jerry and I have been talking about, that gets that sick knot in your stomach when you hear
like Katie,
yeah, and Katie's moving into Albemarle, maybe
to your neighborhood.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna be. Did you know that?
I know right where they're moving.
Okay,
I know that lot. Her husband was actually a groomsman in my wedding.
Oh, so get out of town!
I do know them quite well.
It's like 6 degrees of Steve Harvey on the show.
We went
right
to college together at Notre Dame, and now we're gonna live literally a 2-minute walk from each other's
house. That is bananas.
How cool is that?
That is cool.
Yeah.
Because you enjoy a little brown from time to time, right? A little something brown in the glass. Sure. Does Mr. Pearl? Maybe at Notre Dame.
Well, definitely. Well, there it was always beer. I mean, it was
Now it's brown for you, right?
Yeah. I can't do the beer anymore.
Yeah.
You gotta, some gin too. I get that Strange Monkey. Here's a shout out to the distillery down in Nelson County with our former
Mr. Riggleman,
congressman. Silverback Distillery, Strange Monkey gin. Perfect.
Very good.
And they carry it at the barn, the steak barn. Is that what it's called?
At the what? Oh, the Aberdeen barn.
Aberdeen barn.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always get it with a twist there.
There you go.
Other messages, you know what? Keep your heads up. Freedom is coming back. The governor finally let us loose. Go have an amazing time this weekend. Go do whatever it was that you were missing out on. Go to church. Go play with your friends out at the King's Family Vineyard. Whatever you're going to do, go have fun. Don't stay in your house this weekend. It's going to be gorgeous. And just leave your masks at home if you're going to go have fun out in the wild.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. And that, my friends, is a perfect way to close this program. With the poignant prose from Steve Harvey. Hear, hear. I agree with the man wholeheartedly. Tomorrow, Lee Elberson, the Chief Executive Officer of Claiborne Education, in studio. My friend, we should do this once or twice a month.
Oh, yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation with you. Wish you the best of luck with the real estate career. All the best to the family. Thank you for joining us.
We got to do a play date at some point.
We should.
With all the children. You should come out to the farm. Good to see you, Jerry.
I'm done. It's good to see you, too. It's good to see you, too. Good to see you, Steve. That's the show, J-Dubs. If we can get Steve going in the right direction over there, I will hit you up again.
All right.
We'll
Thanks,
hit you up
Jerry.
again. Thank you. Good to see you, buddy. All right, that's the program. We're grateful for you joining us today on the show. Like I said, Lee Elberson tomorrow in studio. It's going to be a good program with him. He's got a lot of perspective to share, and it's always a lively conversation with Lee Elberson of Claiborne Education. The I Love CVille Show showcases the best of Central Virginia. That's the game plan. That's what we do here. Steve Harvey fits that mindset. Tomorrow, we're going to do it again with Lee Elberson. My name is Jerry Miller. It's the I Love CVille Show on a glorious day to be alive in Central Virginia. You guys have a good afternoon. Take care. Good job. Is it